So just as promised, I'm going to show you how you can create a hole in your displacement. So I'm going to use this area right here. One thing that you will notice, or you might not have noticed, is that there is no draw underneath my displacement. That is because displacements do not enclose, they do not seal the map like world geometry does. So keep that in mind, and also world geometry cannot be anything. It has to just be displacements have to be displacements. They can't be like a func breakable or anything. So what we're going to do here is we're going to make a little hole in this displacement. Now if you'll notice, if you try to create a displacement, a hole in this displacement over here the typical way, like by using the clipping tool, it doesn't work out quite right. Now you'll need to be using the 2009 engine if you're not already, because there's better displacement support. Now what you see here is I just cut the hole in the displacement how we would normally do it, and it's kind of messed up here. It doesn't exactly mesh together well. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the act of sewing a displacement. So typically what I like to do is I always like to work in no draw. So no draw. I will create the area where my hole is going to go. Alright, now we have one brush here. I'm going to put the hole smack dab in the middle. So I'm going to select the clipping tool again, and I'm going to cut my hole. So now we have our hole here, and now you just select the face edit sheet, select the top parts of the displacement again, and hit create, power 3. I like to use power 3, it's a pretty good power to use. So now we have this hole here. Now if you notice, when we select just the top face, all other faces of the displacement disappear. For sewing, this is good. You almost need to think of the displacement as a 2D surface when sewing, because that's basically how they work. So now you want to take your vertex manipulation tool. You'll see these points show up. Typically you only work in the top view for this. Works good. Now you'll see there's a point on every corner and in the middle. We're going to take this white point here and we're going to put it into the corner, and we're going to do that. So it's almost like a pie shape, and then click off. Now we want to drag this point on this other displacement to meet up with that other point. So basically you need to take the vertex points on each corner, and you need to make them touch each other, because this is how sewing a displacement works. After this is done, press apply, and you might notice that it kind of looks like a funnel almost on the lines. They almost look like a funnel funneling in. So the best part about this now is, let's say I paint the geometry on just one, and you'll see that it doesn't, it goes into nothingness here. It doesn't work together well. So you select the displacement, and you click select adjacent, and then you click sew. And what you see, what it did here is it sewed them together. So that's basically what it's doing. It's sewing two displacements together to make them fit perfectly and look realistic. Now, if you've ever tried to use sew before, you might get an error like this, or it just doesn't do anything at all. They probably removed the error in the update. So if it just doesn't do anything, you need to check your vertex points. Make sure they are all lined up. So now we have our hole, and that's how you put a hole in a displacement. Now to make almost a tunnel going down, remember how I said you need to work in almost a 2D way? Displacements can get really confusing really fast, so you have to keep an open mind, and you have to be willing to learn with these, because otherwise you're gonna quit, and no one likes a quitter. So To create a tunnel, you create the 4 sides here, and you'll notice with the brushes, I already have their vertex points lined up with each other. So now I'm going to take the face edit sheet and select just the inward faces, and hit create, power 3. Now, here's the other thing. I need it to be sewn to this hole out here. So, this vertex point right here mingles with this and these two. So it's mixed with all 4. This is how you get sewing to work correctly. It's a very tough process to do, but like I said, once you get going with it, it's really simple. Alright, so an easy way to get a tunnel going is you select all sides and then you hit subdivide. Now, what this just did is it almost created a circle, or a tube, which is basically what a tunnel downward is. So, I'm going to create one more at the bottom here, so we're going to basically have just a dirt hole. Create, power 3. And subdivide. So, now we have almost a concave hole. So I'm going to select another texture so we can see what we're doing here. I don't like that texture. Okay, so now we have our hole here. And down at the bottom here, we really don't need this to be very detailed, so I'm going to turn the power down to 2. And re-sew it. Okay. So now, we have almost a tubular thing. If you select everything and hit subdivide, it will almost funnel it all down. So that will give you almost like a sinkhole type effect. So if you want that, you can go with that. I'm going to go with just almost a concrete, like, straight down. So, subdivide, and then sew. And now, under scale here, I don't really like my tunnels to be that rounded. So, I usually throw it down to scale 0.75, and it almost makes it blocky. Then, you select all the faces that you want to manipulate in your tunnel again. And you go to paint geometry. Now, this is where we change the axis. The x-axis moves left and right, so usually add some bumpiness to the 2 sides, and you just kind of go over it rather quickly. And then the z-axis is up, and the x-axis, sorry, y-axis should be the other sides. So you just manipulate these a little bit, give them a little more character almost, so they feel a little bit more realistic. And then you want to select them all, and then hit sew. And it will sew them all together to be perfect, happy little displacements. The next tutorial, next part of this, I will show you a little bit more on sewing and manipulation. Keep watching.